just when you thought it was safe to go onto iTunes. This is Next Level Guy, the only website that makes self-development as fun as going to the movies. It's time to take the red pill and escape the Matrix.
What's happening, guys? It's time for another episode of the Next Level Guy Show podcast with your favourite shooter, Ian Dawson Mackay. Next Level Guy is the go-to men's interview, interest and improvement website where I quiz the experts to find out the hacks, tips, methods and protocols that you can implement in your own life to take it to the next level and live happier, healthier, wealthier, sexier and so much more. Today's guest is Professor Gustavo Gasperin, who is a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and mixed martial arts instructor, Bachelor of Physical Education and Certified Personal Trainer. He's a legend in the sport of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. He's the creator of the much-loved BJJ information site MMA Leech, and his analysis into performance has been used in many research works. He's competed and won many of the industry titles and is now passing on his extensive knowledge to the next generation of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu practitioners. In this interview, we discuss his story, how to excel at the sport, how to build a brand, how to cope with becoming a father, and the work you need to do to keep the relationship working with your partner. In this interview, Gustavo is very open and honest, and I know it will help anyone looking to, patch the rift in their relationship to get it back or take it to a new level. He'll help anybody that's looking to excel themselves at Brazilian Jiu Jitsu or building a brand, taking in a passion and making a success out of it. He teaches you how to heal yourself or your relationship and everything in between. He shows you how you can find the strength inside yourself to find the solutions to the problems you have, chase your dreams and become the man you want to be, and also become a badass at Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. This is a great interview. I really enjoyed doing this one. My apologies to Professor Gustavo and to the listeners. My mic does start getting a bit dodgy near the end. Hopefully that won't have too much of an impact in your listening pleasure. I just thought it would be best to put it out as it is. You can still hear there's a slight bit of effect on my mic. It's only on my side, but I thought it was better not to redo my audio because then that would impact the actual validity of the conversation. I'd rather put it out as it was and hope that you get as much from this as I did. And now, let's get to the interview. Well, thank you very much for doing this, Gustavo. I've been a massive fan of yours for ages now. I'm a big fan of your fights. I tried to mimic some of your moves and passing, etc. in my own jiu-jitsu. Now, you've also created one of the biggest and best BJJ tutorial and info sites out there, which is called MMA Leech. But for those in my audience who maybe don't know who you are, and they're interested in who you are, how would you introduce yourself? Because you do have a fantastic job.
Yeah, I was born in Brazil, in Curitiba. That's the town of the famous Chuda Box Academy. That it was one of the biggest MMA teams in the world. They had champions everywhere, especially on Pride, and they had then they migrated to UFC. So I started training jiu-jitsu in 1997 when I was, let's say, maybe 22, and a little late actually for the Brazilian standards, but the jiu-jitsu also got late to my town. Jiu-jitsu was very famous in Rio de Janeiro, northern Brazil, but my town and southern Brazil, it got a little late. It got there after the UFC in 1993. So I started training in 1997, and I stayed there up to my purple belt, and then I moved to the US. I was training under the Carlson Gracie team, under Carlos Lima, who is now a coral belt straight from the late Carlson Gracie senior. And then I moved to the US. I started training here as a purple belt. I started teaching as a purple belt because my idea coming to the US was first work as a personal trainer, because I had graduated in physical education and personal training in Brazil. But then, and at that time I was a purple belt, And then I saw that jiu-jitsu there was a huge demand for jiu-jitsu. Even though I was a purple belt, there was already people were asking me to teach. I posted some advertisings on internet on the, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Craigslist. That back then it was big, but right now it's not as much. But and then I started having people interested, and I started teaching as a purple belt already, private lessons. So
So you actually started advertising there through
yeah,
Craigslist.
back then in maybe 2006, I started advertising private lessons there as a purple belt, because at the time purple belt was kind of it was a good belt to teach. There weren't many purple belts around. So then I started, as I was also training at the regular gym, I started teaching privates, and then I started teaching group classes at the gym. So yeah, and then eventually then I moved to Fabrício Verdun gym as a brown belt already. And then at that point I was already teaching. That was my job, teaching jiu-jitsu. When I just got in the US, I was doing a bunch of little things like delivering pizza and valet and all that stuff mixed with the private lessons. And then eventually I switched all to teach jiu-jitsu. And then I stayed at Fabrício Verdun's for maybe 6-7 years, got my black belt from him, was the main instructor for all those years. And and after I got my black belt, then I created MMA Leech in 2012, because I realized that money-wise, I had hit a ceiling already. I didn't have more hours, on the day to keep teaching. So, I started trying to make some money online. I created MMA Leech, not only for that, but also to help people, because at that time in 2012 there was of course a lot of people on YouTube and doing instructional videos and stuff, and I thought that, well, I can do that too. I I thought that was good enough. I watched some videos and I thought, well, I think I can teach better sometimes, even better than these guys. And then I started doing and releasing the videos on YouTube, and then I quickly realized that it was actually tougher than I thought. Eventually I gave big props to those guys, because I saw that I thought that was way easier, but no, it's hard. It's a hard job. Not only to teach online, but create the website and everything. I respected way more that grind from those guys, from the earlier guys, because I think it's normal. Everybody see, oh, well, look at this guy, look how he's doing, I can do much better, and they just criticize. But until they actually start doing, it's a different story. When you start doing, you see that it's not as easy. So I think, yeah, that's basically what happened. And then I founded MMA Leech. In the beginning, it was tough, of course, and then eventually I started creating my own courses, selling, and nowadays it's pretty good.
So would you say that because you started at the very beginning of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, that it helped you very outset of it, that it helped you with its inception, that you were able to create your own style, your own framework, your own style, your own framework, the way that because there was nothing there, that you had because there was nothing there, monopoly, that you had a kind of ability to control how things went, ability to control how things went, based on your personality and based on the flavour that you wanted to put into it, the flavour that you wanted to put into it.
Yeah, I think that helped a lot. Not only the business, but my jiu-jitsu in general, and teaching style, because back then when I started in 1997, it was very different, of course. Like nowadays, what I see, it's jiu-jitsu is much more accessible for everybody. you can go to the gym and you can start training, even if if you have never trained, if you have never done any physical activity before. It's open for everybody, girls, kids, everybody. Back then, when I started, it was really, it was more tailored for the fighters. Like if you go there and you cannot survive the first day, you are out. And everybody was training hard. Like they wouldn't go easy on you, even though you were starting. So it was really back then it was tailored for the savages and fighters, people that if you were training jiu-jitsu at that time, you were either a fighter, a competitor, or there was no jiu-jitsu for fun or jiu-jitsu for hobby, or even self-defense. Yes, we learned a lot of training with punches, training gi, training all that stuff, but the idea was not really to produce, or the idea was to produce champions, let's say. That was the whole idea. That it wasn't much, oh, come here, learn so you can defend yourself on the street if something happens. No, the idea was, okay, you go there, you train, and then we're going to schedule a fight for you. You're going to go to a tournament, you're going to represent our gym. And it was hard training, creating athletes instead of for the general public. So it's of course nowadays it's better, I think, for everybody, because more people can learn jiu-jitsu. The entry barrier is not as hard, and of course we had to do some adjustments, right? The training cannot be that crazy anymore, because we have to fit for everybody, for doctors, for engineers, for women. So it took a notch down, but at the same time more people are able now to train and be exposed to jiu-jitsu and get all the benefits that jiu-jitsu has to offer.
Well, one of the things that drew me to your videos, one of the things that drew me to your videos, it's very technical, your site is methodical, very your videos are very detailed, analytical, your videos are very detailed. You can take something new from each time you take something really new, break down the move, watch it, you really break down the move, different angles, and you kind of answer the questions that a lot of beginners have, and I found when I started at white belt, beginners have, and I found when I started at white belt, even as I'm coming up towards the top end of blue belt, even as I'm coming up towards the videos over and over, and I can get something new. I can watch the videos over and over, and I can get something new. I understand the concepts better. I understand the concepts better. Your videos really help me kind of escalate my game. Your videos really help me kind of escalate my game. Your style of would you say that your style of personality, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, you come across somebody very deep, methodical. You come across somebody very deep, methodical. Would you say that you've created your style of Jiu Jitsu? Would you say that you've created your style of Jiu Jitsu based off your personality? Does your personality have a type of Jiu Jitsu? Does it have an impact on the type of jiu-jitsu?
I would say, yeah, my style was, of course, developed over the years. Not only the way I perform, but the way that I teach. I've always been like, in school, a good student. Let's say a nerd in the school, in the college, and everything. So I think that helped. I also went to college. I graduated in physical education, which is basically teaching. So I think that helped, and I like really to understand things, because for me it doesn't make sense like just like memorizing steps. Okay, you do this, then you do that, then you do that. Step 1, 2, 3, right? I really want to understand what's happening, why I'm doing this. If I'm doing this, is because my opponent is doing that. So even though I didn't learn like that, because like I said, back then it was like just savagery, right? People weren't really focused on the instruction. They just wanted to create tough people, tough fighters. But then over time, especially, I think it got better after I got my black belt, really, because once you get your black belt, it doesn't mean that you know everything. It's just beginning there. It's just the beginning. So I got better at teaching and understanding jiu-jitsu more after the black belt, by experimenting. When I was teaching at purple belt, basically I stopped taking classes because I wasn't taking classes from black belts anymore because I was teaching. So I had to develop and analyze a bunch of stuff on my own. And I think that helped my style, the analytical style, and understanding how things, trying always to understand why, right? Why the reason, why people are doing this, why people are doing that, instead of just giving step-by-step instructions without explaining concepts and fundamental stuff. And that took a long time for me. I would say after black belt, I started really understanding jiu-jitsu more, just because, like I said, I never had that as a student. Nowadays I see that there is so much. I would say it's easier nowadays to understand jiu-jitsu because the level of the instruction nowadays is way better. Not only talking about me, but everybody, I mean, most people, they are good instructors. They understand the fundamentals and the basics. Back then it was just like, you go there, do this, and then, if it doesn't work, figure it out by yourself. There wasn't much explanation besides the step by step. But yeah, it took a long time. And again, after the black belt, I felt like I was really starting to understand jiu-jitsu, right? Because nobody fully understands, nobody knows everything. And I'm getting better over the years. Right now, I was promoted to black belt in 2010, so it's 9 years as a black belt. And the understanding of the art just gets deeper and deeper, as you go and you start. Now, you know, after the purple or brown belt, you can start figuring stuff out by yourself, and then even better at the black belt level, you can just watch some stuff and figure out stuff, why they are doing such movements. So I think it was just over time and practicing and really trying to understand stuff instead of just copying and memorizing.
So, what would you say is the best way then to learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Should somebody come in and focus on the concepts? Should somebody come in and focus on the concepts, balance, grips, all this sort of universal grips, all this sort of universal can affect how somebody learns and develops? Or should somebody come in and just learn like basic? Or should somebody come in and just learn like work through the curriculum of some of these work through the curriculum of some of these like schools? What do you think people should focus on? Like, what's your opinion on the best way to learn? What's your opinion on the best way
I
to
think
learn
it
Brazilian
has
Jiu-Jitsu?
to be a mix of both, because concepts alone won't take you too far. You might, it's like reading a book, right? You read a book, okay, you understand, but you actually have to apply the knowledge, right? Just the knowledge is not enough. But at the same time, if you just learn the techniques step by step and don't learn the underlying concepts, you cannot apply those same concepts to other techniques, right? Once you understand a concept and fundamental movements, you can transfer to other movements, right? Then you can start thinking by yourself and figuring out stuff. If you don't learn the concepts, you are basically just memorizing, oh, every technique, it's step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it's just a memorization of the game with very little understanding, So I think it has to be a mix of both the concepts and the technique itself, because again, like I can watch like YouTube all day long for like a month. Yes, I'm gonna learn a lot, but it doesn't transfer immediately into skills, right? You have to practice. You have to actually drill the techniques. So I think it has to be the mix of both. For the instructors, of course, the knowledge and watching hours of tapes and competitions and all that stuff, it helps you to gain knowledge, and so then you can transfer or teach to your students. But for the students, you have to really go through this stuff, right? You have to drill. Just the knowledge is not gonna save your ass on the street or even on the gym on a tournament, right? You have to actually do this to apply the knowledge. I think that's the balance there.
Yeah, I mean, can you think of like a change that you've made to your own style of training? I mean, I consider you world class. I don't think that's up for debate. You've achieved some amazing things, but what do you think is like a small change that's given you like a massive level of success from it? Was there something that really, like when you implemented it into your own training, it really helped you develop, evolve quicker than the majority of people who train?
I think the biggest thing for me was at the purple belt level when I was teaching already. If I'm not wrong, I was training 3 times a week. I think it was maybe Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But on Saturday was open mat, so I would roll for basically 3 hours straight, just stopping in between the rounds to drink some water. But that really helped me a lot. Just the hours on the mat, like not taking any breaks, just rolling, 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 rolling. I think that made the biggest impact on my game. I learned a lot. I did that for maybe, I don't know, like almost the entirety of my purple belt, maybe 2 years, 2 years and a half, something like that. Every Saturday, training 3 hours in a row, just like an open mat, right? Rolling, no instruction, just rolling. And to me, that made the biggest impact because you are forced to basically just use the technique because you cannot roll for 3 hours and count on your explosiveness, right? You have to use the technique and be patient, and you're gonna get in bad positions, and you're gonna have to be using the technique to keep training for 3 hours. And I think, yeah, that definitely, I think, was the biggest jump in my jiu-jitsu, not only in my performance but understanding of jiu-jitsu too, right? And the timing, right? Like I would just like be super relaxed while rolling because I knew that you know it was very hard for my opponents to do anything to me because any little changes that they would do, I was so connected and so in tune with them that I would do the little adjustments, and that really came from those long hours of training. I think that made the biggest jump in my jiu-jitsu, you know.
I really like the way that you sort of answer questions. You're very deep, you're very methodical and analytical. But where do you think that part of your personality comes from? Was this something from your childhood? Have you always been like this? Or is this something that sort of developed over the last 10, 20 odd years, since you've started jiu-jitsu, etc.?
Uh, I think it came that the analytical thinking and really, I think it came really from my school years. Uh, I went to really good schools back in Brazil. Very analytical thinking, and I did a bunch of you know I don't know how you guys call here, but let's say my high school years probably would be the equivalent here. I went to a technical school where I did lots of diagrams and technical this, I don't know the name exactly, but designs of uh, mechanical pieces. That helped. I think that's a big part because I was in that school for 4 years and was a high level, was one of the best schools in Brazil. Really, like exceptional people, super intelligent. Like I think it came from that analytical thinking from those classes. It made me. I think I've been always like that, probably, but that just you know took to a new level, of understanding. And then I took physical education after that in college, which is also heavily focused on the human body, so the mechanics, biomechanics. And then I think combining all of that made me have the style that I have today. I think I would credit that.
Where did the inspiration for MMA Leech come from? Why did you start focusing on jiu-jitsu? Because you're performing at such a high level. Have you always had passion for teaching? Was there an inspirational moment that made you decide, I want to start my own site, I want to start coaching at a higher level? Did you want to start sharing your style of jiu-jitsu to more and more people?
Yeah, I think the idea really was because I wanted to share what I had learned over my whole career, not only for my students at the gym, but for a bigger audience. And I thought of course, the internet was the best place. And I started MMA Leech. I was not really sure if I would call BJJ Leech or MMA Leech, but then I went to MMA Leech because I thought it was broader. I could reach more people. Uh, but really, my focus is jiu-jitsu, right? I analyze some stuff. I do some breakdowns and MMA matches, the use of jiu-jitsu in MMA matches, but it's mostly really jiu-jitsu. And I started MMA Leech basically to spread the what I had learned, because when I was watching YouTube back then, I thought that you know the instruction was okay. I thought I could do better. And but the second reason too was to supplement my income, because you know I had, like I said before, I had hit a ceiling there. I wasn't going to make more money than I was making already. I was teaching 8 classes a day between privates and group classes. So, well, let me expand this for more people, on the internet and see how it goes. And then right after that, actually, I started anime Leech in 2012, and then my daughter was born in 2013, June 2013. So once my wife told me that she was pregnant, then I said, well, you know what? I have to now to take this, for real now, because my wife always helped me with the income, right? She was working hard, always worked hard, and we had a a good life. But then she would have to stop working, and it would be all on me, right? And I was like really not much confident, if I would be able to make the ends meet there. But then I said, no, okay, so I cannot teach more hours than I'm already teaching. I'm gonna have to make this MMLH thing work now. So it was a lot of dedication there to make it work. And I think that was the biggest reason I started first. It was a combination of everything, like my wife got pregnant right after I founded MMA Leech. And of course, when I founded MMA Leech in 2012, it was like nothing, right? It was small, was like nobody was watching. The YouTube channel had like, I don't know, 10 subscribers, really, really on the beginning. And it took a while, it took a while for me to start making money. Actually, it took 4 years. I started making money with MMA Leech in 2016. So from 2012 to 2016 was just me spending or investing my time on MMA Leech without making any money, just creating a fan base and more subscribers, more fans, in growing slowly. But I wasn't really making any money for that. It was hard times, because then my daughter was already born, my wife wasn't working as much. It was tough for us, but eventually we got it together. So yeah, I think it was a combination of me trying to help people, me trying to make more money for and support my family, and just everything happened at the same time.
So how did you juggle that time, with being a new father, having your wife not able to work as well, and all the pressures being put on you? You're building up a channel, you're learning skills, and you're keeping your jiu-jitsu going,
Yeah.
plus you're teaching and stuff like that. You know, what did you learn during this time? How did it change your outlook on things?
Yeah, it was like a really life-changing stuff because it was very tough. We almost, broke up our marriage. It got to a point, it was really, really hard because, with a newborn at home, I was completely focused on, supporting our family financially, of course. So I was working as much as I could, teaching. And any free time that I had, I would come back home and work on MMA Leech online. So I basically, didn't have much time for my wife and a little bit, and not even for my newborn, to be honest. It was, of course, a little bit, yes, but I couldn't give enough attention as much as I would like. And that really kind of almost ruined our marriage. It was very, very tough, very tough. I don't, I sometimes I speak with my wife. I don't know how we made it through, because it was bad. It was bad. We almost ran out of money. We had some money in Brazil saved. We were about to bring that money from Brazil to here because we had nothing anymore. Um, we really almost hit rock bottom there financially, and the relationship just deteriorated, because I wasn't talking to my wife as much. I wasn't giving her attention. She was super busy also with the baby, and and on top of that, we didn't have any family here. It's just me and my wife in the United States. So, you know, we had no help, and it was our first baby, so we had no idea, we had no experience, so it was all crazy all at the same time happening. And I was trying to build MMA Leech so I could provide to our family, so it was just a mess. And gladly, we were strong enough to keep going. And then eventually MMA Leech started making money, and then things started to get better financially. The relationship took a while to we had to go to couples therapists, work on our stuff. At the same time, I think I had to change my kind of my personality. I think it changed a little bit because I was always like very chill and, not really grinding and hustling as hard as I could, I would say, because also I had my wife helping me. So it was both of us, me and my wife responsible for the income, and we had a good time. And then once she stopped working because of the pregnancy, then it was all on me. And then I finally realized that, well, I have to be more aggressive here. I have to really go for it. I cannot wait anymore and chill too much as I used to. And yeah, it really changed. So I think that changed our relationship too, because, I went from a more passive husband to a more really active and sometimes aggressive. I had to get this stuff done. So that affected our relationship too, but yeah, finally, nowadays it's way better. We're still working on it, but it's way, way better compared to what went down. You know, I changed. I had to be more responsible. I had to be like really. I never wanted to be the person responsible for the finances, but I had to, and it just, it made me. I think it made me a better person, a better man, knowing that I can support my family now. I can be fully responsible, and it was a big change for me mindset wise. I had to really go for it and live to my potential, because I was always felt that I was always a little under my full potential. I never really wanted to go for it. I don't know for what reason. Maybe I was scared of trying to reach my full potential and then fail, and then, oh my God, I'm not really that good. But I had no other option. I had to go for it. I had to go for it. And I knew that if I was going for it, I knew that I was going to make it. I always knew that if I had to do it, I would do it, but I would always delay. I would always find reasons to not do it. Maybe because I was afraid of failing, like I said. Uh, but yeah, it got to a point where I had nowhere to go anymore. I had to do it. I had to, make things happen. And I always knew inside of me that I would be able to do it. It took a long time and almost broke our marriage, but yeah, finally things are better now.
Yeah, I'm first of all very glad to say that you've come out and you've become stronger from it.
Hmm.
And it's very inspiring to see that you can be so open and honest about it. And you've said it's made you a better person. And so many guys are scared of therapy, of going speaking to somebody and asking for help. And it's amazing that you
Hmm.
talk so freely about it. How did you find that? Like going to the therapy, discussing it. I've done cognitive behavior therapy, like for OCD, and I found it challenging at first, but was it helpful to get it out in the open? Did it help and strengthen your relationship by being able to let it out and not have that energy held in? Even did you find it that the best thing for you?
Yeah, I think it was very helpful, because again, over the years, kind of we lost, me and my wife, we lost the connection. The communication wasn't as it used to be, because basically for some time we had no time basically, to talk about ourselves, to talk about our relationship, and just start deteriorating. My wife's super busy with the baby, I'm super busy with my work, and then we would get home tired, and we had no time to talk, and then we start, you know holding those stuff inside of you, with not letting out, and then it starts accumulating, and explode. At some point it's going to explode, and we had many explosions there, but then we had no time to figure stuff out. So when we started going through therapy, I think that helped, because we had at least once a week we have 1 hour dedicated to just talk about us and talk about what was happening, and all this stuff that was, from the previous years, all this stuff that we held back and we didn't say to each other. So it was a lot of work during those sessions, and basically every time that we would go, it was so much so much stuff that, every session it would, something else would come up, something else that was buried down there, and it took a while to remove all that stuff out, until I think that, you know help helped us a lot, and helped me even now to be talking about this, because it just helped us to be a little more open, like you said. No reason to be hiding stuff, especially if you're in a relationship or a marriage. I'm not into that, to keep hiding stuff or holding. If something happens, you have to say right away and communicate and let the other person know. And we didn't do that for many years. No, we were just holding because we didn't have time to talk. And then after a while, you're pissed at your partner, and then you one more reason to not talk to them, and then it just keeps accumulating and bad stuff. So the therapy was very, very helpful. We had that time just for us to talk and try to figure stuff out, and yeah, the therapist there was very helpful. A lot of stuff is just me and my wife talking about, and we kind of eventually we figure out by ourselves, right? The therapist doesn't have to interfere much, but it's just having the opportunity to talk, because also, when we are at home and we tried to talk because we were so like angry and busy, and we didn't let the other person talk. So my wife would start talking, then I would talk on top of that, then she would talk on top of me, and then it was just a mess. So going to the therapy helped us to be more, kind of polite to each other and actually listen to each other without trying to reply right back, right? Listen, acknowledge, see what went wrong, how we can fix that. So it was really very, very helpful. And, then eventually we stopped because our conversation at home was starting to get back, to a good level again. And then nowadays we are not doing anymore. Not say that we are not gonna do ever again, but maybe in the future, I don't know. But right now we are in a good place. We understand each other better. We understand why we did those things to each other, and we are in a better place for sure. And it helped a lot. The therapy helped a lot.
That's fantastic. It probably really helped a lot of people listening to hear that, that like somebody else's experience of doing it, because I think a lot of guys are holding issues. They're struggling in relationships because they can't communicate, or they're afraid of going to therapy. They're not sure how it come, and it's good to hear first-hand experience, from another person, and it's definitely something that can really help guys.
Mm-hmm.
Too many people think it's a sign of weakness to do it, and it can be life-changing.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah. And I thought too, because my wife told me several times, let's go to the therapy, let's go to the therapy. And I would always say, oh no, but we can figure out by ourselves, or let's just buy a book and read it, or let's just Google on internet how we can deal with ourselves better. And, I didn't want to go. I felt like it was like, well, why should I go? Can't we just talk and figure out, why do we need to go there? But it helped us, just also, I guess, the relationship, there is, at least in our case, me and my wife, we had a power shift, because like I said, I was a little more passive and not really caring much about our finances, and not caring much about myself being successful, because I always had my wife to complement my income. So when she got pregnant, then I had to come up and be more active and more, really the head of the household. And that changed our relationship too, because I started demanding more stuff. I started being more, I don't even know how to say, more a man, really, taking care of the family. And that changed the relationship, because I felt a little more empowered now, like, okay, so I'm doing this stuff, it's all by myself, you have to respect me, you have to support me too, and that changed the relationship. And the therapy, we addressed that, and I didn't, like I said, I didn't want to do at first, but it got to a point where, like, basically she said, okay, so you either do that, or we're gonna have to break up because we are not understanding each other. And I was totally, I agree with that. Yes, we are not understanding each other for sure. I thought that we would be able to, but you got to a point, okay, so that's basically our last option. Let's go there, let's see what happens. And gladly, it was a good move. It was very helpful.
Well, I hope you're all having as much fun listening to this interview as I did actually doing it. I just thought now would be a perfect time for a quick break to tell you about some affiliate deals I've currently got going. Now, if you go to www.nextlevelguy.com/affiliates, that's www.nextlevelguy.com/affiliates if you're listening to this on the podcast. If you're on the main website homepage, click on the blue ribbon at the top and click on affiliate deals. Or if you're in one of the blog posts itself, simply go down to the bottom and you'll find a link to the affiliate scheme. There you'll find all these special offers, listener exclusive deals and discount codes I've got available. There really is something there for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're buying for yourself, a loved one, a special occasion, Secret Santa, you name it, there's something there for everybody. There's companies like Onnit, Amazon, MeUndies, Barbell Apparel, Dollar Shave Club, and I'm always adding more and more there. There's outdoor gear, there's tactical gear, there's stuff there that if you want to improve your sex life, there's stuff there if you want to improve your dating life. Definitely check out The Natural by RSD Max. It's one of my favourite things I've ever used, and one of the favourite things I've reviewed. There's links to things like DDP yoga. There's Kenneth Play's awesome new Sex Pro Hacker course. You really need to try that. The guys will be coming up in the podcast in the next few weeks, but his content is amazing. His product is one of the best things I've ever seen. So detailed analysis. It's got broken down actual sex tips, not just talking about it. He demonstrates each and every one of things like oral, fingering, etc. He's an amazing guy. I can't wait to get him on the show. Also, check out companies like Onnit, who do the cognitive behavioural stimulant Alpha Brain. That will make you more awake. It will give you more fluidity in your thinking and the way you can sort of present arguments, etc. There's companies there for everybody. There's probably stuff there you didn't even know existed, but you'll definitely want to get. Like I've said before in other episodes, I don't get any information about you or your purchase. All I get is a small commission from the company as a thank you for me sending you to them to shop with them. It comes as a commission from the company itself. I do not get anything, any data about you, your GDPR, etc. is all withheld. You don't pay anything extra. The commission comes from the company itself. All I do is I take that money and then I go back, purchase new mics, upgrade the software, upgrade the site, etc. I can't thank you enough for doing it. As you can tell from this episode, I needed a new mic, and affiliate sales helped me with that purchase. I really cannot thank each of you enough for coming on the site and listening, especially listening to me waffle. I get such a buzz out of doing this. It's helping me become a better man. I hope it's really helping you. And now, let's get back to the interview.
That's why I loved what you said earlier as well about the change in you as a person to how you were working on your business, how you were motivating yourself and working to make the money, because sounded very familiar to myself.
Yeah.
The fact that you're passive, that you knew you could do it when you were pushed, but you kind of sat back if you weren't, and then you kind of self-sabotage as you went along. You can avoid being in the spotlight. How did that change, though? Was it the fact that you had no other choice?
Yeah, I think you said it. Good point. I never really liked to be in the spotlight. I never really liked since I was a kid. I was always like, running away. I was always sitting in the back of the room. I didn't want to be the guy. I was very shy, very, very shy. I never wanted to be, and I think that was transferred to my marriage, because I never wanted to be the responsible person for everything. Okay, let my wife do it, so I just complement our income, and I was like that. I didn't want that responsibility, but I think, I didn't have any other option. Actually, was also a lack of confidence, because really deep inside of me, I knew that I could do it. I knew that I could do it, but I didn't have the confidence. I was like, well, what if I'm wrong? What if I do it and it doesn't work? What if no, I'm gonna be like, oh my god, I'm really, I'm worthless. I cannot do anything. So I didn't want to get to that point. That's why also it took a while for me to actually start MMA Leech. I had the idea before, but I didn't want to start because I thought to myself, well, but it's just the fear, right? The lack of content. What if I start and it doesn't work? Then, oh, it's just gonna confirm that I suck. I always had that. Is the lack of confidence, but really, I would say kind of deep inside, because I had done other things in the past, of course. When I really, really wanted deep, I knew that I could do it. I was just like waiting. Maybe I don't have to do it so I don't have the risk of failing. Maybe trying to, like you said, self-sabotage, not actually doing, but you know, I knew that I could do it. Also, one thing that changed was even in jiu-jitsu, even training, since I was a white belt, I was already doing well, against the higher belts. But I never really had the confidence to compete. I never had the confidence to really perform in front of everybody. I didn't want that spotlight again, right? So things changed when, I started competing and training a little harder. I had many opportunities, many tournaments I took second place because I didn't push hard enough, or I was happy enough being in the finals. So things changed when I won the the no-gi world championships in the masters division when I was a brown belt. That really gave me the confidence that, yeah, you know what, actually I can do stuff, you know, because in that tournament, uh, it was only three people, me and two others. So I lost the first match. Actually, I lost because I actually didn't push myself enough. I didn't push it because it was only three people. I said, well, I already got my bronze medal here, so it's fine. Bronze medal in the world's no-gi, that's kind of pretty good. So I didn't push myself. So I lost the first match, and because it was three people only, I had to fight again. So on my second match, I fought the other guy of the bracket. And I was like, okay, if I lose again, it's fine because, I already got my bronze medal and stuff. But then we started, and the guy really kind of basically smacked me on my face, right? He clubbed on my neck really hard. And then I was, oh, okay, maybe, he just miscalculated, right? And then, okay, boom, again, boom, second time, then again, boom, third time. Then I got pissed off. I got pissed off and I said, no, now you're gonna take it too, And then it was basically one of the first times that I really went for it with everything that I had. And then I beat the guy, and then I went to the final and I beat the first guy that had beat me before. So after that day, I felt like, okay, I think I just have to be pushed a little harder so I can do my stuff, because I was too comfortable or too lazy or too chill to do stuff. And so I either was being pushed with outside forces or I had to push myself from the inside. And that's what I learned, at that moment, at that event, I was pushed by the other guy that I had to, I just got angry and I actually did what I had to do. But then nowadays it's more like I find that within me that I don't need, wait for outside sources. I can find that drive and that hustling inside of me. And I can do by myself. I know if I do everything right, if I train, if I do everything that I had to do, I know that I can perform everywhere, right? Online or in tournaments with my business, whatever. So yeah, I just got sidetracked a little bit, I guess. But
No, I love that. I mean, how would you explain that to somebody who's maybe just on the cusp of it? Because like I'm very similar. Whereas I'll be training sometimes and my heart just won't be in it, and somebody will beat me in a role who
yeah,
I know I could have beaten, or I'll self sabotage, or I'll tap when a choke's just
yeah,
going on
yeah.
because it's uncomfortable, but it's not painful. You know what I mean? Is a way to teach that? Do you think?
You know, that's a hard thing to say because I can only talk about myself because I always, like I said, I always knew that I had the potential. I always knew because I could feel in all areas, not only in jiu-jitsu, but in school, or the online business, whatever. I always knew that I had the potential, but I wasn't doing enough. I wasn't pushing myself. And in my case, I think basically it was just life events happening at the same time. Like, I basically had no other option. I had to push myself. And at the end of the day, of course, I was glad that that happened, because maybe I was waiting for that opportunity. Like, I had nowhere to go. I cannot run away anymore. I have to do it. Okay, so let's do it. So I think it was a bit of the personality there. Like, always trying to delay a little bit to see if you really need to do that. You know and in my case was a little bit of you know lack of self-confidence, a little bit, just the fear of failure. Like, okay, kind of deep inside, I know that I can do it, but what if I can't? Like, what if I'm wrong? What if like, what if I'm not really that good as much as I think I am? So I think it's more like a mental battle, really. And you have to really start doing. Once you start doing the stuff that you want to do it, then it's like a snowball. You keep getting better, you keep getting better, keep getting better. And then if you can analyze and reflect about your mistakes, anytime that you have a mistake, you understand that, well, it's just a mistake. It's just, I failed here, but it's not going to stop me. I'm going to keep going. And I think it's more like a mindset. And that's also what happened to me with the MMA Leech in my online business, because like I said, for the first 4 years, I didn't make a penny. But at the same time, also, I wasn't pushing hard enough. I was doing that for 4 years, but not doing as much as I could do. So it got to a point where, with the marriage, with my daughter getting older and our running out of money, then I said, okay, well, you know what? There's no other option. I have to do this stuff. And then I did it. So, and nowadays, it changed a lot, because I know that I can reach, I can access that inside of me. Like, well, when it's time to go, I'm gonna go. I know I can do it, and I know if I fail, it's just temporary. If I keep working, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be able to reach what I want. So I think what changed was the confidence for me. I know that I can do it now, for real. I know that whatever I put my mind into, I can do it and I can accomplish. Before, it was just inside of me. Now it is inside of me, and I was able to actually do it. So I think it's a mindset, confidence. You have to do it and really push it until you get it done. Once you get it done one time, then everything else is easy, because you already did it. So, and that, for me, probably the biggest confidence booster was winning that world championships. That, oh, okay, I actually can do this stuff. I always dreamed of winning a big tournament, and that was the first big tournament that I won. And I was like, yeah, if I really push and I dedicate myself and I, do what I'm supposed to do, I can win. I can succeed. So then I just transferred that into everything else. And but that first breakthrough is hard, because you're always doubting yourself. You're always like, well, I don't know if I really can do it. I don't know if I'm good enough, or what if the other person is better, or too much stuff going inside of your head. But once you really are focused and you're determined, I think it's just a matter of time.
It's weird because even though I'm interviewing you, it's like you're talking to me and I'm picking up all the mental hang-ups I got, and you're helping me work my way through them, because I've got, even at blue belt now, I'm still doing a lot of this stuff, and it's so refreshing to hear even like somebody at your level goes through this. And I'm trying to make this podcast a business, and
Mhm.
to hear that you've turned MMA Leech into a struggle, into a juggernaut, it's so inspiring. We've been on for almost an hour, and I've not even touched any of the jiu-jitsu stuff, because
Yeah,
we've covered,
no,
stuff about your relationship, about the therapy, the helping, the opening up, the self-sabotage. This is the stuff I really love to find out about people, because it blows me away
yeah,
and it teaches me so much how to fix it, and it inspires, because you can see even the greats have it as well. I mean, the best way of approaching jiu-jitsu, in your opinion, then, is going in with the kind of mindset you outlined a minute ago.
hmm
Is that what turns somebody from a good jiu-jitsu practitioner to great?
yeah. I think so. I think, and that's for everything, right? You have to really pour your heart on the stuff that you are doing, that you really want to do it. Now, it also depends, right? Because, for example, I know that for many of my students, they don't have any desire of competing and being a world champion and being this and being that. They just want to go there to learn jiu-jitsu, to have fun. That's their physical activity, that's their hobby. They get in shape. So I think it varies from people to people, and a lot of people too, like, I see that through my students. They have full-time jobs, they have family. Jiu-jitsu is not really the main thing for them, even though yeah, everybody would like to, to be a killer on the mats, right? Everybody, for sure. Nobody likes to get smashed and get choked out on every class. But, you know, if the drive is not there, it's hard. It's hard to be really great. I have one guy, one of my students. His name is Daniel. He's a big time online marketer. He helps me a lot with my stuff, with my business. And he's just like, online marketing is his stuff, right? He's really good, really, really good. He has like a real business, like a $1 million business. And he's passionate about jiu-jitsu too, but he can't compete with jiu-jitsu, right? His main thing is his business. His main thing is his company. So even though, and he's really extremist, he does. I see him doing the best that he can. When he's at the gym, he's an animal. He competes. He competed a bunch of times as a white belt, and having his business like at the top, it's really, really hard, to manage several things and trying to be great at several things at the same time. It's very hard. It's almost impossible. Maybe you can be great at two things at the same time, but it's hard, because you cannot focus. You don't have the time. You cannot dedicate yourself as much. So, but anyways, I would say anytime that, for those people, right, that they have jiu-jitsu is not their main thing. Anytime that you go to the gym, you try to do your best, right? Try to do your best. And of course, it helps if you watch videos online, if you watch instructions, if you go to mmaleech.com and watch my videos, if if you work out and to supplement your training. Yes, everything helps. But to be great, I think it's just a different level. It's just a level of commitment, right? It's hard to be great at jiu-jitsu if you train 2 times a week. You can be great, but it's gonna take a long time, you know. Probably after you are a black belt, with the consistency, let's say 10 years of or 15 years of training twice a week. Yes, you're gonna get good too. Just it takes long. It's over time. It's the consistency of the training, right? But yeah, if you wanna be great, faster, and at the highest level, you have to commit yourself, just like anything else. If you want to be a millionaire, well, focus on that. Focus on your work. Focus on your job. It's hard to have time for anything else, productive time. Of course, you have to go to the gym and do other stuff, but to be high level at the other stuff is hard, because to be high level, you also need full commitment, and that's not easy. To do two or three things at the same time is very hard.
So how did you take MMA Leech then to the next level? How did you take it world class? And because it's such a crowded market now, there seems to be 50,000 YouTube coaches teaching jiu-jitsu. How have you made MMA Leech? I mean, the quality of the videos is amazing. You answer questions. It's like you're reading my mind. Like I didn't even know I had the question at that point, and you're answering it. And you're getting different levels of understanding as you progress your jiu-jitsu. But how did you take it from that initial spark and get through the chatter and make it stand out for the quality that it is? Was there a philosophy to it, or was it just pouring your heart into it every day?
Yeah, I think, for example, right now, MMA Leech, it's I would say it's great if we compare from the where it started, right? Because it started really from zero. But I'm not really satisfied. I want MMA Leech to be way bigger, a bigger brand, a bigger YouTube channel, a bigger Facebook page, bigger income for my family. So I was actually debating that with my wife the other day, because I think, right now I'm not spending as much time as I could on MMA Leech. I'm not pouring that much energy because I have other stuff to do. It's not only MMA Leech, it's me going to the gym and teaching my group classes and teaching my private classes. And now, of course, I have my daughter too. I have to split some time for my family too. I have to take her to school and all that stuff. So the family balance, it's okay. I can deal with that. I already talked to my wife. We have some schedule now. That's not gonna interfere with the business, and it should not, right? We should have a schedule for our family too. Otherwise, we are just like robots working and not enjoying anything. So that's one part. The second part is that if I want to make MMA Leech grow more, probably I'm gonna have to teach less at the gym. So that's I don't know yet what's gonna happen. I'm still talking to my wife and see what we decide. Maybe I'm starting to get her more involved with MMA Lead so she can help me, maybe edit some videos, or maybe she's gonna be part of the videos. I'm trying to. I always, she's not really. She doesn't do jiu-jitsu much. I teach her some stuff over the years. I have taught her over the years, but she never really went to a official class. She trained with me a little bit. So it would be awesome if she could start training jiu-jitsu, of course, with me in the classes there. So she can learn, she can help me now, she can be the person that I demonstrate the techniques on, right? The dummy. So I think that's probably going to be the next step to take MMA Leech to the next level, because, it would be great if you were me and my wife were living in a place where we had our own mats. I can shoot anytime that I want, shoot videos, shoot instructionals. Anytime that I had an idea, I can go there and shoot, because right now the way it is, I basically, my content is when I generate content when I'm at the gym after the classes. I ask my students to shoot a video and this and that. So I'm a little bit behind. It could be better. I could be offering more content, growing my business more if I was, if I had more time actually to work on my business. So I'm still deciding. I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel that I'm gonna have to make some changes. I'm gonna have to probably invest more on my MMA Leech, on my online business, which is, by the way, the my main income, right? My main income comes from MMA Leech. So, um, you know, I have to invest more time to make it to grow it bigger, and probably less time at the gym teaching the classes. Even though when I teach the group classes there, or even the private classes at the gym, it helps me to have ideas, right? I have to have that feedback from the students, help me to create new courses, to help my teaching to be sharp and all of that. But it kind of, it gets on the way too. So I have to balance that out a little better. Still trying to figure out, but it probably is going to be that way. Probably I'm going to have to reduce the classes at the gym so I can focus on the online stuff.
I mean, that's a good thing, though. It means you could, you're building a relationship by building a business. If you're
Yeah.
bringing her in, you're sharing the kind of the experience, the brand, but you're also then still got the
Mm-hmm.
gym to have your working groups, your feedbacks from students, and you're still in the mix of the jiu-jitsu. It sounds like a perfect world, to be honest. I love it.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a part of the whole thing. Me being at the gym and teaching, because I also then I can train myself, right? I don't want to be like, oh, I'm gonna be shooting instructional videos and I stop training. I don't even I'm fat and I'm big belly and I cannot even do anything. I cannot even demonstrate a technique because I'm not training. My timing is all off. I cannot move myself on my body. So yeah, being at the gym, teaching and training is really essential. It's part of the business. And like you said, after all those years with problems in the marriage, now bringing her to the business, it's just like it's a good thing. It's gonna help to strengthen our marriage, and you know I couldn't do that before because of our relationship, but now things are better. And I think everything is coming together, and probably it's going to be a new phase now, not only on our relationship but the business, because everything now is coming together instead of getting destroyed as it was before. It's just crazy.
I love that. Well, I've just noticed we're over our time, and I know you're really
Yeah.
busy, but I've been blown away by how open and honest and sort of vulnerable you've been tonight. And this is the stuff that's really helping guys, with their transformations, their changes. And I can't thank you enough for doing it. I really want to have you back on to talk about, like what made you a world class jiu-jitsu practitioner and all that, and really talk about the business as well. So I'd love to have you on again. It's
Yeah.
been phenomenal to make connection. Hopefully, I'll have a better mic by that point.
Yeah.
But just
That's all good.
just got two quick questions to sort of tie off, and then we can.
Mhm.
If what would you say is the go home message of this? If you had to sort of wrap up everything we've been discussing tonight in a kind of take home message, what do you think it would be?
I think, you know I think I would say, go for it. Don't wait, don't second guess yourself. Okay, don't self sabotage yourself. If you think you can do it, go there and do it. you know it might not work at first. It might be, it might have several obstacles and several failures before it works. But you know don't wait until it's you have to do it. Do it before than that. Try to, I know it's hard, it's easier said than done, but believe in yourself, try it, go for it. Don't wait until things explode and you have no other choice. That happened to me, and of course now everything is good and great, and but I went through some really hard years just because I didn't want to do the work, you know, that I knew I could do it. I was just afraid of doing it. And it got to a point where I had no other choice. So I would say, from my experience and what I can tell you is, don't let get to that point. Start earlier. If you believe, if you have a dream, if you have something that you really like, go for it. And at the same time, like, you gotta go 100%. You have to commit yourself. If you go 50%, 70%, probably it's not gonna work. So go for it, dive into it, as early as you can, because you can get the benefits earlier too. And just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Don't worry if it doesn't work. If you have persistence, if you believe in yourself, if you know it's the right thing to you, if it's your dream, go there and do it. If it fails, you do it again until it works. If you don't give up, it will work.
I love that. It's so succinctly put, and again, it's like you're talking to me, and I think just from this alone, you're going to help so many guys who are maybe having problems in their relationships, problems with their business. Guys are holding off creating, their own like world class product or whatever, that self-sabotage. You're going to help so many people on so many different levels with this. So we got to go back on at some point and do the jiu-jitsu stuff, building your business, etc. But how can people follow you? Get in touch with you, social media, come to the gym if you offer that, get personal training with you.
Yeah.
How can we keep in touch with like MMA Leech and what's coming up?
Yeah, you can always, thanks for the kind words, you can always go to MMALeech.com. I have everything there. All my courses are there. I just released a new course called Guard Recovery Fundamentals, where I covered gi, no gi, and self-defense too, that I learned directly from my coach, Fabrício Verdun. Some really, really good stuff. And you can follow me too on YouTube, right? MMA Leech. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm really I'm more active on Facebook. I'm always posting some stuff every day. Instagram not as much. YouTube maybe once a week. But yeah, you guys can follow me there. If you guys like my style of teaching, check out my courses at mmaleech.com. I have 6 courses now. And I always enjoy talking to people and replying when they send me email questions about the courses that they bought. And I'm always ready to help. Send me questions through email, send me questions through my YouTube channel, and I will make sure that I answer that. No problem.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for this. It's been eye-opening, it's been helpful. You've got me already motivated and fired up and overcoming some of the BS that I was holding me back with. And I cannot wait, for the mats, for getting back into the site, etc. The floor is open to you. Is there anything you would like to mention? Anything you'd like to promote?
I think no. Just again, if you guys want to check my work, go to mmaleech.com. Check my courses. Check my YouTube channel. I would like to thank you for the opportunity and wish you all the best. And everybody has some BS in their minds, I guess. And like I said, as soon as you get rid of that, the better. Don't wait too long. Don't wait until you're 65 years old, because it's gonna be harder and harder.
That's it for another week. Thanks for listening. Absorb it, practice it, use it. Until next time, keep trying to hit that next level in your life.